Hey there, Growth Warriors. You are listening to the Grow Daily podcast, and I am your host, Piyush Agarwal. Welcome to the 26th episode of this series, and today we will continue to learn about email marketing. If you haven't listened to the last two episodes, I will recommend you to go ahead and listen to those first because there's a lot of actionable content that was shared in those two, and if you don't have an email list today, it will help you understand how you can get started and how you can start adding subscribers. Email lists are a great way of growing your business. And on this podcast, that's what we talk about. We talk about ways that you can grow your business consistently every single day. This is an everyday podcast where every episode is under 15 minutes with actionable insights that you can go out there and start applying to your business. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, go ahead and do that. And if you have been listening for a while, I hope you'll be kind enough to go ahead and review on iTunes or any other podcast network that you are listening this podcast on. The reviews will help me understand how effective my tips and tricks are and also help more people discover the podcast. With that, let's get started with today's episode. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about creating our first email campaign. Most of the tips that I will be sharing will be applicable on any email campaign that you'll be creating. So if you have been sending emails to your list for a while, most of the tips I will be sharing will be applicable on all your future emailers as well. So keep listening in order to create effective emailers. In fact, towards the end, I will share the biggest reason that a lot of emails fail. One step that most people don't follow and that leads to bad email experience for their subscribers. So, based on my last two episodes, I can assume that you have already signed up for MailChimp or some other email marketing software. Also, you have already started adding subscribers using the methods I outlined in the last episode. And now, it's all about communicating and sending out mailers to your audiences. It's important that you know what makes an effective emailer. Your email campaign needs to be persuasive. You need to craft it in a way where your audience feels that it's a personalized email for them and you're directly talking to them as a friend, not as a brand that just wants to sell them something. Now, while you will decide what your voice needs to sound like, you need to follow some basic principles to get the email right. Firstly, you need to know what are you offering. In the emailer, the headline becomes the most important aspect. You need to make sure that your headline captures on what you're offering in that email. It needs to be short, but at the same time generate enough curiosity that they want to go ahead and read the rest of the email. Second is the body of the email. Now, while crafting this, you need to think on how it will help the reader. You need to make sure that you step into the reader's shoes and are writing from their point of view. They need to understand just with a few words on what value they are getting from that emailer. At any point, if a reader feels that you're trying to sell them something they don't need, they will turn off. And finally, you need to have a clear call to action. You need to make sure that users know what happens when they click that button, and you need to encourage them to click the button by making it about them. So be very clear on what value they get out of the emailer and what happens when they click the button. Rather, guide them to what should be the action for them through the emailer in order to get more out of what they are reading. So 3 things to create a persuasive email message. You should have a headline that clearly outlines what you're offering. There should be a message body that tells the user how this email is going to help them. And finally, there should be a call to action on how they can get more out of the email and what they are reading. They will only click on the call to action if the rest of the email is convincing that what they are reading is for them and will help only them. So always make sure that you test your emailer against these 3 things. The next thing is you need to use templates in order to design your mailers. Now these templates can be custom designed for your brand, or you can download readily available templates across the web. But most likely, if you are using a good email marketing provider, it will give you an editor for editing your email templates. It will also have some ready-to-use templates that you can just go ahead, plug it in, add your branding, make some changes here and there, and make the template your own. Having a template is a great benefit because it simplifies your overall email creation process. You end up focusing more on the content and less on the design. You end up setting a design that works for you, and also works for your audiences. Your audience also knows what to expect when they get an email from you. So make sure you use templates and stick to a template over multiple emails. Don't keep changing a template with every other email. Third one, use images. In every email that you send out, don't make it just text. These days, everybody reads emails on their phones, and the phones have vibrant screens. So having images just makes the emailer even more interesting. You don't really have to create new images for your brand because that takes a lot of time. You can also go out there and use royalty-free images that will work for your email campaign. In fact, there are now platforms available where you can get stunning photographs clicked by professional photographers for free. Couple of them that I really like are Unsplash and Pixabay. I will leave the links of these in the description of this podcast. Whichever method you employ to get images, that does not matter. You need to ensure that you are using images that go along with your brand language. Every brand has a certain appeal to their audience, and based on who they are catering to, they decide their grammar, they decide their language. So whatever image you use, make sure that that goes along with your language and also add vibrancy to your campaigns. In case you end up using images that does not get along with the perception you have built around your brand, you may end up confusing your audience. So be very careful in what images you send out, but make sure that you have images. Images are a very powerful medium to convey a lot without saying much, and most people are not a fan of long emails. So be careful on how much text you add to your emails and use images to convey more. Now that we have our mailer ready, the next step is to craft your email subject. Now this is the most important aspect of your mail campaign. You need to make sure that you are crafting your email subject very carefully. It needs to be fun, it needs to be attractive, it needs to engage with people in a way that they feel like clicking on it. Our inboxes are full of mails, and a poorly crafted subject line will make it drown in the ocean of emails, and you don't want that. So spend time in making sure that your email subject line is actually attractive. It leads people to open the email, it gets them excited enough that the moment the notification pops up on their screen, they want to see what the email is about. There are quite a few tools available online that will let you test your email subject lines, your headlines, your blog titles. The tools try to give you a score based on the words you use in your subject line and accordingly tells you how effective they will be. So make sure that you test out your email subject before actually using them, and ensure that you are creating one that will lead to the most amount of action. Now, with the email subject crafted, you are basically ready to send out that email. But wait, there is one more step that you need to make sure that you do before you send out that email. That is to preview your emailer and test it out. Most of the email marketing tools allow you to do this today. After you finish creating your email campaign, you can actually send a test email to your own email ID to see how the email would appear in your subscribers' mailing list. You need to watch out for the subject of the email, where it's getting clipped, what's the name the email appears against, and the actual content of your email. Is it structured the way you thought it would be? A lot of times you would find a lot of mistakes after you do this step. So you need to make sure that there are no mistakes, that your email appears clean and nice on all devices, and only then once you're sure, you should go ahead and approve it for sending. Don't send emails without testing, because often it leads to a lot of errors that can just piss off your subscribers and even lead some of them to start unsubscribing. And we don't want that. So that was the most important step that a lot of people skip in sending their emails, and it can lead to disaster. I don't want you to do that. Make sure it's part of your process when you're crafting that email. You wouldn't want any surprises later. So with that, you are now ready to craft your first emailer campaign if you haven't yet. And if you have been sending emailers, tell me if your process is different from what I suggested, and if you have something better to recommend, because I love to learn new things. You can write to me at hello@piyushagarwal.com. With that, we have come to the end of this episode. We will have 2 more episodes in this series that will help you improve on your email marketing. Do watch out for the next episode in this series tomorrow. You have been listening to the Grow Daily podcast, and I'm your host, Piyush Agarwal. Go out there and take action today and grow your business every single day. Thank you.